off. The mouse just keeps clicking. Anyway.
So it is Brian Thursday, and we're gonna play some Stellaris.
Yes, been waiting so long for this.
And you've been playing so long for this. Yeah, go ahead and start.
I've been playing more Stellaris than I have been not playing Stellaris.
Yeah, originally we were gonna do Empire TV Tycoon today, but Brian was like, "I'm so deep in Stellaris.
It's like I should just do this now while it's fully loaded into my mind."
Yeah, I can't play anything else.
That's basically true. Let's see, how are we doing today? We got Cloudcraft, Chronatosis.
Yep.
Somebody lurking.
Yeah, so Cloudcraft is into this game. Is considering modding it, doing like some diplomacy mods and things like that. Chronatosis says it's apparently a good Warhammer mod for Stellaris. Does it just swap out the content for Warhammer 40k characters?
You could very easily make a Warhammer 40k game out of this game. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
So do you know in advance where our heads should be on the screen, where the HUD is not? This game is all HUD, right? I mean, it's like...
Yeah... That's a hard question to answer.
So I've got everything queued up, so you can change it if we need to.
Yeah, we'll figure it out on the fly. I'm not super worried.
All right.
For now, that's actually not a bad spot. Do you want to start by making a civilization?
Yeah. So I think we'll do what we did with Prison Architect, which you know, if you haven't seen our Prison Architect video, you should go and see that.
It's great.
I'll probably put a little like note or something. But yeah. So we're gonna start a brand new civilization, but this game takes decades to play. So
I'm like 70 hours in on my first and potentially only actual playthrough.
So
I've never had that happen before. It's kind of nuts.
So at some point we'll probably just switch into Brian loading his really advanced playthrough to give us a tour of what this game looks like when you've been playing it for a while.
That is pretty much the plan. So these are like the pre-made ones. You could randomly roll an empire.
Really?
With 1,000 variables, or you could like create your own. You could pick your values as a civilization.
So are these like dichotomous choices here?
Yes.
Like
so you are a spiritualist or materialist. You can be pacifist or militarist, xenophile or xenophobe, individualist or collectivist.
And do you choose just one of those things, or do you?
I think you can choose.
Like, are you on a spectrum on all of them?
You can choose up to 3, and I think it costs 2 to be a fanatic about something.
Nice. You get like bonuses and also penalties for being a fanatic.
Sometimes I don't think it's usually very few of these actually have penalties. So fanatic individualist has a negative 100% slavery tolerance. They really don't like the idea of slavery because they believe individual lives have merit.
Oh,
collectivists don't.
Slave all you want.
Literally, that's how the collectivism is defined in this game. It is the greater good matters, therefore slavery is fine. It's basically this game's very reductivist but elegantly presented view on the world.
So are we gonna be Pol Pot or Harriet Tubman?
There's a couple of points in between. I mean, I've got like Lenin over here, and I guess Aristotle somewhere over there.
Yeah, okay.
I want to be, and each of those actually locks and unlocks different government options for how you can rule your country. So you can
you select those now too. Are these permanent selections, or are these like you can vary them as you go through the game?
As I change up what my like menu of values are, it turns on or turns off all the government options on the right, and those are not the options I have to pick now. Those are all the options I will ever have. There are some advanced versions of these you can unlock through research in-game, but
they're still essentially the same thing, just fancier.
Right. The real choice you're making is here, right? By choosing your people's governing ethics, you are choosing the forms of government that they will accept, that you can choose between as time goes on. And so if you're doing like fanatic individualist and xenophile, which is like the standard human thing, turn that off, turn that on, you can only do indirect democracy. Everything else turns off.
Oh, wow.
If I even go down to like regular individualist and that, now I support a plutocratic oligarchy, which is perhaps more realistic than we wanted this game to be. But if we are fanatic individualists, then you can only get indirect democracy, because that's too much power for those people to have, I guess. The oligarchy, you only choose leaders every 40 to 50 years. The indirect democracy, it's every 5. But these also have effects, so like you can have more people in your base. If you're indirect democracy, you can have you earn more money if you're plutocrats. This is like a whole system unto itself, and even after that, there's like more decisions and 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 more decisions.
Holy crap.
So we won't make any of those decisions. We will just go back and pick a pre-made. But
okay,
now you understand
that
what's
exists.
At stake.
Yeah,
so that's something I will do at home over the course of like 2 hours at some point. I actually started off with the United Nations of Earth, which is you're using a democracy, you have warp drives, you are individualist xenophiles, and that was that. I kind of want to try something else this time, just to not play the same thing. Oh yeah, on top of all of that, where you're designing your culture, you can be Cthulhuloids. Or the Chinor, apparently. Which they're industrious, so they earn more minerals. They are repugnant, so nearby, not them, are unhappy by their very presence. And they are natural engineers. They research engineering better. They have laser tech and hyperspace. So there's actually 3 different ways of traversing space in this game. There's hyperspace travel, which has there's hyper lanes, which are sort of space roads that you can use. There's warp travel, which is you can go to adjacent systems if you have enough engines, but it's much slower than hyperdrive stuff. And then some of these guys probably...
So hyperdrive is fast, but it's channeled in certain ways?
Yeah, hyperdrive you can't get everywhere. Gotcha. At least at first. I think it changes up over time and you get more access. So it's like fast, but limited.
But warp is slow, but you can get anywhere you want.
Correct.
Arbitrary.
You will eventually get there. And then wormholes are the third, where you have to build stations to hyperspace from point A to point B. I haven't actually...
Is that the most limited?
I'm not actually sure. It might be a balance, but these are all like... this is like the most phallic alien design I think I've ever seen. This is like you are mushroom dick aliens. I want to make a more refined description there, but I can't. I've been lying to you all.
Can we please be these people?
Do you want to be the peaceful bureaucracy, collectivist, pacifist, slow-breeding mushroom dick people?
Yes.
Is that how we want to play this?
That sounds amazing. And let's do somebody. I want to see the limits of wormhole. Is there somebody else who does wormhole?
Let's see. Wormhole generators, tunnel. Tunnel through subspace to establish conduit between 2 points, permitting travel across long distances.
This just stays phallic.
It just sort of wiggles. Yeah, it's not better. So we have the Science Directorate from the Cthulhuloids, which is if you're an individualist and materialist, you can get... Oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't even know this was an option, but they have more research options, so you can research better. So research in this game is like a loot table. Every time you finish researching, it draws 4 cards off the deck or 3 cards off the deck, and you pick the next one to research, and the rest get shuffled back into the deck. And so there's a tech tree in terms of putting new things in the deck as you finish cards, but there's no guarantee that the options you have today are options you'll have next time. So something sounds super appealing, you just have to go for it. And so one of the things the Science Directorate gets is...
more options?
Yeah, +1 research alternatives. So when you draw a hand of cards to choose what to research, you get 1 extra card, which is actually kind of huge.
So these guys are like the capitalist innovation engine.
These are like the scientists that like money?
That's the same thing.
So like, yeah, innovation engine.
This is Elon Musk with tentacles.
Yeah, sure. That's not wrong. They do have lasers.
He probably has lasers.
He probably has lasers that he doesn't tell anybody about. All right, so do we want to go with the Cthulhuloids? There's also the religious birds, despotic arthropods.
All of these things sound amazing,
right? So these are like Earth,
different versions of man.
Earth turns into this. The early Earth colonies are a militator, fanatic, militarist, xenophobe dictatorship.
Nice.
So you don't even need to be. There are evil humans too. They're the ones that got to space first and got bitter and cynical.
Nice.
Yeah, these guys, like, their form of rule is divine mandate. Each ruler... Okay, so this is a crazy thing. Higher slavery tolerance, because divine mandate. You can move people around faster, because you can order them to relocate to new planets.
And they're like, okay.
Right, like, individualist, you don't have that button. Like, it's prevented. You can't resettle people forcibly, because that will be against their individual will. But if you're collectivist, or in this case, even just spiritualist to enough of a degree, you can tell people, the divine will is that you move here. Get on the boat.
Wow.
And they kind of just go. Also, you get 2 monument buildings per ruler, which like increase happiness locally, and rulers work until they die with the divine mandate format. There's like a super hegemonist thing where you actually get to build an oversized battleship for your ruler that's got more slots on it than any other ship you could ever build. That is only unlocked by that type of government. And then you just get to have your personal flagship.
Wow. Okay, so...
Yeah, that's the one.
So you'd be... I'm okay with either. So what form of travel did you have when you played before? It was
I played with warp, so I've never played with. I don't know wormhole, and I don't know.
Let's do either Cthulhuloids or mushroom people.
Okay, I really want to try. So peaceful bureaucracy sounds boring as hell. I like Science Directorate. That at least sounds like there's some opportunity for drama.
Let's do it.
Also, they use lasers, so let's go.
Red lasers.
Laser color determines laser goodness. They start at red and then move their way towards the other side of the color spectrum.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let's see. Galaxy size.
It makes me think of Homestar Runner.
How many stars should be in the galaxy?
Let's go tiny for now.
Okay.
Just because I feel like we might see more.
Yeah, let's do tiny. Elliptical is fine. AI Empires, I guess 2?
Or you could do all of them and just cram them all in there.
Oh god, this is going to be terrible. Okay. Advanced AI starts, I guess, I don't care. This is basically how many of them are ahead of you already, because why would you be all at the same time? That's not reasonable at all.
That's true.
Kind of a thing. Not ever going to touch Iron Man mode. I'm not going to modify. So you could turn off the FTL methods. You could say everybody has warp, everybody has wormhole, because that changes how the game plays out. AI aggressiveness is exactly what you think. Difficulty is exactly what you think. Let's not screw with those settings anymore. Let's play the game.
Okay.
Cool. So we are the Chinor Stellar Union. We are ruled by a science directorate. We have hyperspace travel. Our ethics are individualism and fanatic materialist, so we just research everything better and make more of everything. Let's see.
So Drax says that he played the evil humans. He basically he kept a mindset of genocide or slavery for all.
Wow. Yeah.
Always suspecting a revolt or a betrayal.
Wow. So when we get halfway through the stream and we switch over to my save, I basically became the Federation from Star Trek. I have a bunch of different species, all roughly held happily, because the horrible evil dudes at bay are, well, they're on the borders and they're scary and they don't like me, but I have more ships than them, so they aren't murdering me yet. Let's see. So, literally in all caps.
I am Veer, a prototype synthetic
okay, so
let's just. I'm going to shut the tutorial robot down. Which is,
you are our tutorial robot.
Yeah, I will walk everybody through the things I am doing. All right, so I'm going to completely break my own rules and leave the game unpaused, which is basically blasphemy. I lied. I'm going to pick research first. After that, I will fight my instincts and let the game sit unpaused. All right, so first I have to pick our research. So. Pablash is this guy. It's Glorm and Banog. Some more like dwarves.
These are like your.
These are your Cthulhuids. Yeah, these are leaders.
Oh, they're leaders. Okay.
So if I go over here and I go to my leaders tab, you have somebody for engineering research, somebody for society research, somebody for physics research. I have one guy commanding my one science ship, and I have one governor of my home planet. These individuals all have traits. Like, he can clear blockers and terrain better. This guy's just going to live longer. This one's better at researching rocketry. This one's just maniacal, so they research everything just a little better.
Maniacal.
Yeah, this one has a particle expert, so particle-based technologies, they will research faster. I
like taking minor benefits and then giving them really dramatic names.
Yeah, it makes them sound more exciting.
Just imagine this guy cackling and tapping his fingers together in his lab full of bubbling, multicolored chemicals.
Of course they are, because that's always what chemistry works like. Let's see, so here's my first 4 things I can research from. I can get better power plants. Power is basically money. But if you want to maintain a big fleet, it costs you money per turn. And so the amount of energy you're earning net determines how much of a fleet you can support. And so if you ever want to build a big fleet, you have to get power infrastructure fast. I could put solar panels on all of my spaceports. I could research better lasers, or I could research a physics lab, which lets me research better. It's probably, the blue lasers are super tempting, but I think I want to research the physics lab because it lets me research faster, which is probably the best investment for now. Although energy is really tempting, we're gonna go with the physics lab. Next up, society research. I could research colonizing other planets, which you do have to actually research before you can do it. That seems important. I can research planetary unification, which earns me more influence, which is political capital. It unlocks the ability to do propaganda broadcasts, which increase happiness.
Especially if there's a big tentacly guy doing it.
Literally all they do is they just increase happiness in exchange for political will.
I love the variance on these faces of these guys. I mean, they're all the same monster.
They try to do the same thing that you would expect with humans, where it's like, why would all the humans look the same? We're all super varied, and so you meet all these alien races that themselves have at least some amount of skin tone and feature difference.
That's cool.
Which I actually really appreciate. Let's see. Capacity overload. What even is that? I've never had this one before. This edict allows short-term overloading of regional grids, letting local power plants run at increased capacity. Fascinating. The version of this that I've had before was basically let people become managers that are more qualified and earn more money that way. This one seems more like, screw safety standards, make money.
Do it.
More materialist than individualist. That also lets us colonize other planets. We're playing the science faction, so like Civ, the more population you have, the slower your research is. And so if you want to research, it's artificially slowed. So as population goes up, the points you need...
Is it like diminishing returns, or is
kind of, yeah. Like you can get more people in more research facilities, but that fights against the total population count, and so there's sort of an optimal point in size that does require more math than I even care to do. But that's a thing.
So is there a chance you would want no colony ships?
You might want a very small space footprint with a few colonies that are very efficiently researching.
Could you get by just by conquering or treating with other and never actually colonizing a new planet with your own people?
Maybe. I haven't tried it. That would be unwise. I think this game's version of that is 3 colonies instead of 20. would be this game's version of the one.
So eventually you will need colony ships. It's just whether it's urgent right now.
Right. I think I'm actually going to do genome mapping because that lets me earn more food, which lets me grow more people. Oh yeah, I can look at the surface of my planet. So currently I have this is a 16 tile planet. It's a little board gamey in a good way. Here are the people I have. I can see the individual ethics of each population of people on my planet.
So these are all separate populations?
Yes, so you can actually see like they have like their own sort of like physical features. They have, these are like physical traits of the species, and so if different species live on the same planet, you'll see their different physical traits there. And then you can all see their relative happiness, their relative ethics. And there's a stat called ethics divergence. So if that number is positive, when somebody has children, there's a chance the children will have different values than the parent. And the values of the parent, or the happiness of the parent, changes the odds of that happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're modeling crap like that?
Those things I just said are in this video game.
They're modeling my political arguments with my parents.
Basically, if you like, if your parents are really happy, you're more likely to endorse their values. Wow. So saith some code in this game.
That feels kind of accurate.
It's pretty amazing. Another crazy thing is you have to clear out industrial wastelands. Detritus from past ages of progress has to be cleared for people to live there. Nice. Also, this one's always been a little bit concerning for me. Slums are treated as a geographical blocker. This region is filled by vast shanty towns and slums filled with the poor and outcast. It contributes nothing to society.
Ooh,
that's text in the game. So it says that.
So you have to annihilate them to settle the real people in there.
You have to spend resources to clear the blocker.
Oh.
You will later in the game clear like dangerous wildlife and glaciers and volcanoes using the same button that in the early game you used to clear slums.
That's messed up.
It's a little. The game is occasionally messed up, but just enough so that you're like, I think it's laughing at itself.
I think, yeah. I'm not getting the sense that the developer is messed up. Just that action.
That moment is pretty screwed up. It's not a terrible use of our time. We probably want to like build some stuff here first. So let's get a science lab built over here. So we have something going.
Cloudcraft talks about his civilization. He calls them the love bugs because they've got like close to a dozen different species in the Empire, several of which were uplifted by his people. So nice. he's like building this happy little conglomeration of different species.
Sometimes people will hate you even if you uplifted them. That is totally possible. All right, so the plus food over here, when I'm done researching that, will mean that all my populations just grow a little bit faster because we've got better food access. So that's going to help me just grow in the early game. And then finally, we have to pick engineering research. Now, this faction starts with lasers. There's like 3 families of weapons. There's kinetic, which is like railguns and space bullets, basically. Lasers are lasers, missiles are missiles. They start that way. Sense. They change over time. So I can research missiles, although I have lasers and I kind of want to stick with lasers. Powered exoskeletons, which make my armies and miners better.
Armies and miners. I love stuff like that crosses over.
It makes total sense. Like powered exoskeletons, if that technology exists in the world, it would be used in mines and it would be used in armies.
Yeah.
I can also research armor, which is potentially really smart, or the engineering facility, which lets me research engineering on planets better. Which I think I'm going to do because it's early game and I want to invest in my future.
So, what is the goal of this game? Is it just to play forever and enjoy it?
For me, that's what it is. There's actually victory conditions. One of these many menus has a victory button. Victories button. Is it this one? I thought it was situation log. There it is. Okay. So the 2 ways to win right now are own 40% of all of the colonizable planets. We have made very little progress towards that. That means we have to own.
Does own mean like you've conquered it or you've settled it?
I think that means it's in your borders.
Can you be allied with someone to get it?
So I think I hope it means my federation owns it in their borders because that is a reasonable thing. Anything less than that, and I don't know that they ever intended anybody to win games ever. I think that's what it is. I'm not 100%.
Conquest is there is no one left?
Conquest is conquer or subjugate everybody. Just win all of the wars.
But when you play this game, you're not even driving towards the victory conditions. You're
mostly just trying to manage this you're trying to increase your station. Like you're trying to like do well by your people, expand their power base, not get threatened by foreign powers. Like the experience is largely about ruling a country in space.
Which said, there's no victory condition for really ruling a country in reality, right?
Plenty of failure conditions, very few victory conditions. Yeah. So there you go. Stellaris is a game about actively trying not to let your people down.
That's pretty cool.
Cool. So, all right, here's my space. This is like my analog for the solar system of Earth. There's a bunch of other planets. I don't think I've even scanned them yet, and I have a science ship. The purpose of a science ship is to scan stuff. So I will tell them to survey the system, and they will generate a autopath. And they will now fly all around my solar system, scanning all the planets, telling me what all these places have.
Wow. So I didn't even realize this was going to exist on the planetary scale. I assumed this is just going to be
just like this
star scale only.
Yeah, so this is like our galaxy, and this is a tiny galaxy. My Federation in the other save is bigger than this galaxy.
Yeah.
So for now, this one system...
This is the scale I'm going to play at when I play this
game. That is a good idea that I
wish
wish I had a long time ago. Cloudcraft is basically saying what I'm saying. He doesn't think it counts for your Federation for the domination victory.
But it should.
Yeah, because otherwise you might literally just never win.
Well, it feels like if that domination victory doesn't, then I feel like they should add a diplomatic victory that does include it, or something like that. You need to make
something that's a reasonable path to winning.
Like if they want that domination victory to exist, that's fine. But it feels like the approach of I'm gonna make lots of cool friends. That should be an answer. Hey, Brant, we're playing Stellaris. Want to come check it out?
The Galactic Empire!
Eventually.
I'm going to sit on the camera theme right here where my face will look slightly weird. Come join me. Come sit over here.
Yeah, this is a very it's a space game. It takes place.
Yeah, have you read about Stellaris or seen anything about it?
Brian has told me a little bit about it. There's all sorts of stuff going on.
There are all sorts of stuff going on. This is true. So right now we're scanning our solar system so we can figure out what, if any, resources we've got there. I've got a little construction ship which can turn asteroids that have resources on them into mines, or build space stations.
So you like looking at individual asteroids?
I can see them.
Oh my god.
There's the asteroids in the belt. That's a big one I might be able to mine. There's a star. This is my home planet, which is represented like a little board gamey thing, and here's all of the different areas of my home planet where I can build stuff.
Wow.
This is the effects of my current governor on my home planet. It's a capital world, and so it's got a bunch of good stat bonuses.
How long did it take you to get to the point where you felt like you knew what was going on?
3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
Oh, that means in Brant years, that's like it would take me like 11 months
to get to and that was just playing with the game's tutorial is basically that they have Clippy. Yeah. And Clippy shows up whenever he sees you doing stuff and is like, here's how this works.
Is it Space Clippy?
It's Space Clippy. He's a little probe with a bunch of fins and a glowing eye. Not that kind of probe.
Okay.
Like Wheatley
I'm
from
just
Portal.
saying, Brian.
Wheatley from Portal, not
You say probe, you're
Cartman.
playing a space game, I'm gonna go somewhere.
Okay, there's a whole mechanic about that we're not even gonna talk about yet. I'm not, okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a 45-second version of this. You can find a planet that's not in space yet. You can build an observation post. You can abduct their cows using gravity wells and then study them for extra science points. You can teach them the future and bring them into the space age, or, my favorite option, you can genetically engineer your own people to look like them, infiltrate them from the inside, take over their UN, and have their entire planet give itself to you. You literally do the conspiracy theorist lizard man thing.
The XCOM 2 scenario.
Also, they can sometimes form an XCOM that you have to fight. And their XCOM can sometimes get destroyed by political infighting. All of these are mechanically possible things in the game.
Oh,
I am enamored with
the games you bring to us, Brian.
I love this game.
So my head just exploded so many times.
It should. That's the correct thing
in
for
the
it to
last
happen.
10 seconds that it looks like just one big explosion. But you had me at probing cows.
So Calvin says this isn't even as complicated as a lot of Paradox's other games.
Yeah, Drew told me that this was, in his mind, baby's first Paradox game. And I'm like, really? So Paradox games are typically for people who've been playing war games for 10 years and want to play them on PC where they can have even more complexity.
And they're largely about managing like kingly dynasties in medieval societies
or
and stuff like that.
From medieval times up through hundreds of years later and managing the political infighting of all of Europe at the same time.
Yeah.
These games tend to get incredibly complicated. But
complicated
in doing so,
as Europe.
Yeah. And yeah, to Cloudcraft's point, Stellaris does a good job of not making you need to understand it all right away. And that's why I was actually okay with taking 3 hours to get it, is because I never felt punished.
You kind of cruise?
Yeah, I was never making mistakes. I might have been making uninformed choices, but I was never actively harmed by not knowing how everything worked.
Drac, I'm not even sure that 12 hours is enough for me to probe my first cow in this game.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who they'll almost brag about how long they've played without doing things.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff that's a chance to happen that you might just never find.
Yeah.
What kind of horsepower do I need to have on my
very
laptop?
Low, very low. This is not a graphics intensive game.
This is all UI.
I'm mostly playing the UI, and then you can see the ships. And this is the crazy thing is
so it's not like what's that giant spaceship simulation? The Dreadnought. Have you guys seen?
Yeah,
that?
I've seen Dreadnought. Dreadnought's fun.
It looked cool, but your battles aren't like that.
So the thing is, there's actually really nuanced combat in this game, but you don't get to influence it at all.
It just happened.
Yeah, so like you get to choose what weapons.
Is it like gratuitous space battles? Like
Kind of, yeah. You're actually so. Let me show you the ship designer. There's a ship designer.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so they're both going like this, and I'm like, sure. So let's just
You
like
showed me this already.
probably. All right, so I'll make a Corvette.
Thanks for
which is,
coming,
like,
Brant.
The smallest little thing.
See you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Yep. We'll see Brent next time. So I have 3 different kinds of Corvettes I could choose to make. Yeah. I could give it 3 small versions of a thing, a small and a medium version of a thing, just a small version of a thing, but then better like engines and shields and such.
and then you slot things into the slots.
Yep. So I only have 1 weapon right now, so it's just red lasers.
All lasers.
And I only have 1 energy thing, so these are all power plants. Like there's not a lot of design you can actually do at this phase. You have a hyperdrive. They have a generic combat computer, level 1 engine, level 1 sensors. Just not a lot of cool stuff to do. Eventually, there will be like 30 things here, and like maybe half as many of the other options, and then these all get various upgrades that have a couple of choices you can make.
And they all have like resource costs and stuff. So like the better stuff costs more.
You
that
can even
kind of
see
thing.
on the right hand side here, there's a tab where it's like, here's the cost to build one of this, here's the maintenance cost of one of this, here's the build time on one of this. And so you can actually do the like Soviet Russia approach where you're just low tech, super cheap ships and you make bajillions of them, or you could do the Germany World War II approach where you make very few, very high tech, very high maintenance things that are way better than what anybody else has. So right now I actually finished building that before somebody was born to power it or work on it. So now I have basically unstaffed stuff, and I can say the next population that's currently growing but not ready to work on a tile yet.
Our faces are covering what you're doing right now.
Fantastic. Actually, so I'm gonna drag this guy back up here. So the little half-transparent guy is somebody who's not grown yet. That's think of it like a baby, except a country. And when you have a building that's not in use, you
It's
get
a developing country.
There you go. Actually, I can. The bottom right of the screen will not suck. Is one of these bottom right?
Yeah, but there you go.
Okay, let's try that. And then
All
come
right.
back. Didn't lose focus. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, so here's my little in-progress population, and we're going to drag him over here so that when he finishes growing, he will work on this building. Yeah, so all the buildings need workers, but you do want to... Time is finite, and so you want to get work going sooner than later. And so we'll probably start up a power plant here, just that something's happening with my time. I don't want to waste it. And then we'll unpause again. It looks like we had a little project while Brent was over here. We had somebody start researching it. There was an anomaly on this planet. Let's see. The Stellar Union is abuzz with news of the alien remnants studied by the science ship. Those leavings are considered definitive proof of intelligent, purposeful alien activity at some point in the past. We may still be alone now, but we are at least not the first to be so. So, that's basically my people have discovered that there are other people. I would be clearing the blockers on food and science. That's probably a better idea. I like having resources that I can build the second a person is there, but clearing blockers probably needs to take at least as much precedence.
And Drac points out that after spending a lot of the last couple of weeks just playing an action space game, that they coming back and looking at the space battles, and this makes him feel very unnuanced and which is fine because that's not the level you're playing at. You're not really. This is not a tactical game. This is it's a
very
high level strategic game.
But that's the thing. You make strategic choices about how your fleets will fight, and then you have to watch them fight. And so you are making choices about like what's the engagement range, what's their general combat strategy, what's their like fleet formation stuff even.
And you try to craft your ships to be appropriate for the strategies that you're using.
And you actually can do like different amounts of small ships versus large ships. You can do close quarters or far away, and each fleet will be built of different instances of ships that you've designed. And so you actually do get a lot of influence over how it'll fight, but only by way of what tools you give it. Which is actually, it's an interesting way to solve that problem. This screen changed since the last patch. It now has more information, which is great. Shushk has gained a level, and they will now research slightly faster. Hooray.
Oh, neat. And so these leaders will eventually die?
Yes.
So you use them for a while, they die, and then
You have to
replace
recruit
them.
new ones, and it costs you political influence to recruit new ones. And so if you spend all your political influence, you'll just not be able to put leaders into place, which is kind of...
So entire operations will just not happen until
You'll be blocked from starting them in most cases, or they'll get paused.
Wow.
Yeah.
We kind of like the ATF in the United States.
Pretty much.
Blocked by not having a leader.
Yeah, that's a thing. Actually, yeah, to Drax point. Oh, I didn't... crap, I should have been building a farm here. So, yeah,
I think it was Cloudcraft who was saying
Cloudcraft was right. So let's build a farm over there, and then we'll clear a blocker on this food. Don't even worry about the fact that it's slums. La 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 la. Okay. That's the only way to go. Cool.
Sending the bulldozers into the city of God.
Sending bulldozers into the favelas.
Yeah.
The miles and miles of favelas. Yeah. Let's see. So we have finished surveying our system. We found basically nothing, which sucks, but we do have this one place where I can build a mine which should allow me to harvest some extra energy. So we will go build a mining station, which will cost me a lot of my minerals at this phase. That's like 10 months of minerals, but it'll give me a whole bunch of power. Let's see, we now know that without a doubt the thriving biosphere is not something unique to Chikora. Both the scientific community and the public at large are eager to learn more about the various forms of alien life found throughout the galaxy. Efforts to catalog the life forms we encounter are already underway, but our xenobiologists have urged us to focus our planetary survey efforts on habitable life-bearing worlds. So now I have a choice. Begin the Habitable Worlds Survey event chain, which is basically get a quest that will reward you for finding a bunch of habitable planets, which is a great way to start. Or choose not to and get some political capital.
So be like 1400s China, and be like, we could send boats all over the world and take over the Americas, or we could just burn all of our boats.
Or we could just hang out here and spend our time on something else. It's basically like how ethnocentric you want to be.
Yeah.
Calvin, they actually patched Corvette spam like literally today. I think 1.1 just came out, and it actually screws up. It changed their evasion calculations, so you should no longer be able to win giant battleship fights just by having an unlimitedly large amount of Corvettes. Previously, you would just spam the tiny ships, and the way they calculated evasion, the big ships just couldn't hit the little ones ever, and so you would just swarm of bees your way around fights.
Oh, gotcha.
So let's start the side quest, because that's a great way to like learn about the nearby environment. And it basically gives me a bunch of prizes for finding 8 habitable worlds, which is a good thing. Although this is a tiny galaxy, so maybe there aren't even that many.
Or maybe they're just really densely packed together.
So this is interesting for me. I haven't played on hyperlanes before. There's lines on this map showing where...
And you're not used to having lines?
No, I'm used to just dots. And then the strength of your hyperdrive determines how far away you can jump from thing to thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you want to read Cloudcraft's post to me?
Yes, yeah. Cloudcraft asks, have you had many planet-specific events, Brian? I had a planet that basically had a super space weed that killed productivity. Wait.
Yeah, that's a thing.
No, do you mean like a pest that killed productivity?
Like the drug.
Or like the drug.
So I've seen this. There's a planet buff called like hallucinogenic atmosphere, where everybody who's on that planet is just a little bit high all the time. Nice. And it makes them happier but less productive.
That's good. So it required intervention by force after the planetary government and the people that had to replace them stopped cooperating.
Wow, I didn't have that happen.
Have you had stuff like that though? Like weird things happening on individual planets?
I go to great lengths to keep my individual people and planets happy, which generally means I don't get revolt efforts. There was one time I tried to terraform a planet that had people living on it, thinking that it would not do that in a way that murdered them. Apparently it turns off all productivity and sets their happiness to like 2, and I spawned a loyalist faction in 2 months. Because a bunch of people were living on a planet that was actively being terraformed. They were like, this is the worst! Why are you doing this?
I've wanted to someday do a game that was set as the victims of that. Where, like, just more of an action game or something.
Yeah, like you're being subjugated by an alien race that's just way stronger and you've got nothing
they're just slowly terraforming the planet. So over time you need more and more survival gear.
Oh, wow.
Just to survive.
To matter to them. Let's see, I don't want to waste my minerals on Corvettes at this point. A science ship is actually probably a good idea because I have a lot of exploring I want to do. Although it's also going to mean I have to wait longer before I can build mines, but it's trade-off.
So
cool.
It's 12:36 by the way. So
time?
Well, I don't know how much you want to show of your larger save game.
Let's go for 12:45.
Okay,
and then we'll switch over.
I'll tell you when it's 12:45.
Sort of a crazy survey of stuff.
Yeah, so you see how big and crazy it gets.
Yeah, we're still getting some good stories from the chat.
Yeah, Cloudcraft says, I accidentally allowed an event to terraform one of my planets, and suddenly there was an independence movement for the whole sector.
Yeah, that's basically the first thing that happens when you get a loyalist faction, is they're like, we should be separate from the rest of you because you've made us unhappy. And then they just sort of, they go with that. I guess, yeah, we can clear blockers. That's already in there, that's now queued up. Okay, yeah.
Cloudcraft says, I think you can actually jump multiple nodes at once in hyperspace, in case that helps.
You can jump, oh, interesting. Okay, that might have just happened when I sent this guy over here. I have found, that's an interesting image. Oh, I don't have any colonization tech yet, because I chose not to
it'll show you
it.
places you could colonize, but says you can't?
For now, or they may have actually just changed up the visuals a little bit. Let's see.
It is fascinating to play a game that's actively being worked on by its developer, because you never quite know exactly what you're running into.
It is out, but they're just like, they're improving stuff. Like this was basically Service Pack 1 for Stellaris just came out, and so it probably just got a lot more usable. Because right now we're in the system of Zur, which is a great name for a system in space. We are receiving a weak signal from the surface of this planet. The source appears to be some kind of tracking beacon. 22% risk of failure, whatever that means. Leave me for
Horrific
now.
death, I believe.
Depends on how it goes wrong. Screw it. Let's research it. Is that a tier 3 anomaly? It actually says there's a little icon as billboard. It's a 1. Alright, that's fine. Hasn't played. Even pacifists need a military. Yeah, you will get conquered real bad if you have no military. So this is on fastest right now, so research progress will be pretty quick.
Is it possible to have more than one habitable planet in the same system?
Yes, you can get like large amounts of them, but each colony generally has pretty steep costs to maintain, and so it's
You wanna
unlikely.
pick and choose?
Yeah, you're unlikely to like suddenly colonize a whole system just because you can. Now I have a bunch of political capital, and I just made a new science ship, and you need a scientist to survey, so I'm going to hire a new scientist. All of them will cost 50 influence. These are the ages of them. Which
So, and how long they'll last?
Yeah, you're literally, it's like, how many years of service will I get from hiring you? This one's good at field manipulation, this one's good at particles, this one's good at military theory. I already have somebody who's good at this. These two are sort of tied, and you're younger, so I'll hire you. And then I will have you in orbit around the home planet because you are currently piloting my new science ship. And we will pick you, and I will say you're going to go research the...
My arm is blindingly bright. I'm
Gotcha.
going to pull my sleeves back down.
Tirabellum system. Oh, they increased the like verticality on the map. It was not this much last time.
Oh.
Interesting.
So
Yeah,
you think it's sort of in layers a little bit, so
it's
it feels
mostly
more 3D?
flat. Yeah, I'm not sure if the distance checks are actually using height.
It helps that galaxies actually are kind of flat.
Yeah,
So
that's a real thing to a degree.
Yeah.
It's just there's like a thin discus shape. So this planet is I don't have tropical colonization, so I can't settle there. But I might be able to settle over here because it is 80% habitable, so that's something else. A small short range...
Just like Earth!
Yeah. A small short-range transmitter has been located on the surface of Zur-3. It appears to be an ancient survey marker, placed here eons ago to mark a large deposit of precious metals. The miners it was meant for evidently never arrived, and the deposit is still here. So now, that's just a huge mining opportunity.
Huh.
So I'll grab my construction ship, and I will send them over straight away, and when I have enough money to build a mining station, I will have them. Actually, I
So you can build a mining station that's different from a colony.
correct. Actually, this isn't even in my borders yet. So I can't build a mining station there because it's not inside my magical space circle. Although it might actually get there. It's like right on the edges. And so this whole place might suddenly become in my borders quickly.
So what defines your borders?
That red line.
But what makes that red line?
A bunch of math I don't understand.
So it's like, if you were to colonize a planet, would it just make another red bubble?
It would make another red bubble, and yeah, depending on a bunch of potential techs and policies and genetic traits and just a ball of variables, your borders will go a different distance away from your planets. That's much more in the sim side, and you don't really get to know what's going to happen ahead of time, which is sort of sad. And that's something I would not be surprised if they change that to give you a better idea of what the cost benefit will be of these things. If I want to build a colony ship, they're like. Right, I can't get. They're like 350 minerals, and right now I have 100, and I get 8 per month. So like my first colony is going to be a huge deal. Right now, most of what I'm doing is just sort of surveying. Cool. We finished researching the engineering facility and genome mapping because those were the same exact amount of time. Betharian refining. I actually get this till much later in my existing game, so I can research for engineering. I can research space oil. Basically,
Space oil!
rare resource that you can turn into power more efficiently than not.
I want a bottle of space oil in my cabinet.
It's more like space dinosaur dirt, but it's fine. I can research defense platforms, which are the smallest but viable form of space station. So it's like a spaceship with no engines and way more armor. You can do geothermal fracking, which is just the tier 2 mining building in this game. The improved spaceport, which allows me to make bigger ships. Which is very, very useful in the long run. And those are my choices today. So this is going to give me more minerals, which are like super useful. This is going to give me more power, which would be useful later. You probably want to read what Cloudcraft is saying.
Yeah, Cloudcraft is talking about borders. It says your borders are created by a bunch of things, just like Brian said. But generally, more people and colonized planets means more border expansion. It says planets generate borders around them, but if what they generate is already covered, it spills out. What spills out? Does that mean that the overall
it extrudes further?
Like if half of my circumference of the area that I would cover is already covered, then my circumference gets bigger in order to
roughly.
It's like the area is going to be the same no
it's
matter
like you're
what.
spilling water onto a table, and so if you spill the same like half a cup, it'll go that much farther out.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Let's see. So let's do hydroponics farm 2 is what I need. I need food and minerals right now because we just need to build. We finished surveying the Zur systems. Now I have a science ship that's not occupied. Let's see. I'm going to have you...
Cloudcraft suggests that early on, better mining is where you usually want to go.
Yep, and that is what we are researching. So I'm trying to queue up survey here, and then shift right click to survey here, and then shift right click to survey here, and then survey here, and then survey here. So I'm just giving this guy
how much of this have you spent paused?
Most of it. 60 to 70% of it. Because it's like time is such a resource in this game. I'm always so scared of not spending it perfectly.
Oh yeah, no. I play the same way. I was just curious how it lined up.
We've encountered some sort of alien vessels in Chikonaf. These strange objects have been flagged as alpha aliens until we learn more about them. We should proceed with caution.
First contact!
News of alien ships humming through the ether have reached Chikora in many ways, ending the first chapter in the book of our bid for a stellar empire.
Research complete.
Also, I finished some research.
Cool.
Pause again. So, administrative AI, research is faster, better reactors for my ships, a power hub, which is like a huge power multiplier, or the concept of shields for my ships.
Go for the concept.
Sure, new things are cool. Alright, so I also should now have something in my situation log to investigate these new alien ships that we saw.
Okay.
That will actually pause research on this thing, which is unfortunate because that's food.
Fits into one of those slots?
Yeah, it takes up all of the research points that would have gone to this.
Oh.
So we'll do that, and then, let's see, it'll be 170-something in-game days. A day is about a second at the speed I'm playing at, so that shouldn't be helpful.
Cool, and then we'll be getting close to the time when you wanted to switch over to show your massive empire.
Yep, so until, is there in my borders yet? I think it actually might be in my borders now, so can I have my construction ship? Not with my borders yet. Okay, so I have to wait until some game number happens and decide my borders are bigger. Science is leveled up, surveyed another system. Oh right, you didn't get any orders, the other guy did. So you can go research here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and that's enough for now. Research my little corner of the galaxy. Hyperlanes are interesting.
So these are like explorer ships you're basically sending?
These are, okay. they're running through the world and just surveying everything.
Who are these red spiky people?
Let's see. The spaceborne life forms, with our head of society has come to refer to as Tiyanki, are docile creatures.
Oh.
Capable of accessing some lower dimension of subspace, they roam from system to system with relative ease, though nearly the same ease as our fleets. They graze on gases common to the upper layers of many gas giants. It is highly unlikely, to say the least, this is their only food source. But intake of other nutrients is yet to be observed. They will rarely, if ever, attack, even when provoked. They can safely be ignored. So these are space cows.
Oh, great.
They just sort of wander. I've never played a materialist before. The materialist response is hunting them would be a net loss anyway. Let's see, tech research.
But is there somebody who would get some benefit from them?
I don't know. I haven't played as all the different ways of thinking about the world.
Huh.
Actually, the points build up, and then your research runs twice as fast. Oh, do we actually build up, Calvin, and that just pauses it? I thought that it was actively spending my research points. Cool, I understand the mechanic better. Thank you. So this will give me the option to research a new tech called frequency tuning. Oh yeah, at any time you can actually change to any of the other research cards that you drew and not lose progress, which is sort of nice. Also, for everybody playing this game, you can scroll this down. It doesn't tell you that at all. There's no evidence of it, but like you've secretly had more options the whole time. I never got this tech in my last
cards
game.
that you draw, do they just stay there until you use them, or do they get thrown back when you finish something?
Everything that's not a special tech gets thrown back into the deck and reshuffled. No guarantee of when or if it will even come back. See, that's really cool. So this is like an energy weapon that gets through armor based on the way the space cows eat. Yeah, I never even saw this tech in my previous game. I don't know why. Wow. I found space cows too. Maybe only the materialists make that observation. That's the sort of thing this game does, where it actually does play subtly but meaningfully different.
Cloudcraft says a friend attacked the grass grazers, and apparently they're actually pretty tough, and it enraged more than just the ones he attacked.
Wow, not surprised.
So, all right, do we want to switch over to your big
survey?
I think so.
Or are we close enough to some special thing that we should?
There's not like we haven't made first contact with any other empires yet, but that's not.
And that illustrates how slowly this game progresses.
Yeah, no, and it's intentional. So here's my biggest observation about Stellaris. It is one of the slowest games you will ever play. But that's not an accident. That is an intentional part of the experience, so you can believably go from our species has reached space all the way to like Star Trek episode 709. I don't know which one that is. I made up that number. Somebody might know. I don't.
Yeah, I hope nobody knows. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because I've been reading the Expanse series, and they basically they have to kind of invent alien precursor magic because they're really. I mean, it just would take so long to actually try to colonize.
Yeah,
like outside of our system,
takes impossibly long, and so the game takes a long time to make it feel worth it and to make the stakes feel appropriate and to make it feel believable. All right, so my civ is about 145 space years past this one. Let's see how much can happen.
How many years?
145.
So how many Supreme Leaders have you gone through?
Well, I switch out every 5 because we're democracy. So
that's right.
I literally don't even care. I don't even pay attention. I actually just stop paying attention to elections and deal with whatever I get because it's too expensive to influence elections.
Just ignore it until like they elect Space Trump and then. Never mind.
That's a real thing. If
this is not a political stream.
Not yet. All right, so here's Earth. Let's see. Here is.
So you started at Earth.
I started at Earth, and I started in the Sol system. Let's see. That's just an asteroid. I have a mining outpost on Saturn and a mining outpost on this asteroid in the belt. Venus is useless. Mercury is useless. Mars, I'm mining. Jupiter is great. You can actually get terraforming gases from it eventually. Huh. So I'm having those. This big ring here, or this blue ring, this is my Earth defense fleet. It's actually pretty small compared to some of my other fleets. It's currently in the process of being mass upgraded. I have a battleship and 2 cruisers and 4 destroyers.
Holy crap!
And corvettes, and this is a smallish fleet. So here's the crazy thing. All of those ships are ships that I designed. I have this enormous catalog of designs I manage and update over time. Because if you update a design, you can click the update button on the ship, and it will find the nearest spaceport that can upgrade it, queue itself up for an upgrade, get upgraded to the latest version, and then pop back out.
Holy crap.
So the game actually makes it easy to be like, here are the roles I want to fill, and here's my current iteration for all of them.
Wow.
As I research new techs, I roll them out to the fleet, and then I do mass upgrades, like a real military.
So it looks like Sol is connected to Alpha Centauri and like the same places that are actually close to us. So is this trying to model the actual galaxy to some degree?
No, it's I think it's got some sort of like likelihood of spawning A next to B kind of thing going on because there's actually another Sol in this galaxy.
Oh, really?
That was like a straight up book. There's another human faction. It's just like, hey, we're also humans. We're also from Sol, and I'm like, guys. No, I think what happens is when you decide what civ you're going to make, it like deletes whatever it had generated and then plops their prefabricated home system in.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I haven't zoomed out
kind of
yet.
like whenever you play the Mongols in Civilization, your capital is Samarkand. No matter where
you start, they'll always decide that that's your capital. So this is Sol. This is sort of my core world. You guys saw my fleet. This big blue ring is my battleship Aura. Battleships have like super cool modules on them. Like so, I was talking about all the little upgrades you could have before.
Yeah.
Actually, let's just jump into the deep end and make it look really cool for people. Let's see, which one do I want to show you? Let's look at a Tesla battleship. Those are cool.
Constellar Star says that he's going to build a wall around Earth and make Mars pay for it. Anyway,
that would take a really long time. Mars doesn't have a lot of minerals.
Yeah.
All right, so here's like one of my latest battleship designs. It has what's called an arc emitter, which only fits large slots, ignores half of shields, and then penetrates half of armor, and has a chance to chain lightning. It's a giant space lightning gun, somehow. I've got that.
Pretty sure lightning needs a medium to move through.
You would think so. I think part of this might just be like gas ejection, so that it has a medium.
Yeah,
we wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, but one of my favorite weapons in like the GURPS source books was the electro laser, which fires a laser and then that changes the air so that the lightning will follow the laser.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I've got point defense systems, which will shoot down enemy missiles as they get close to me. I have amoeba strike craft, so I studied the space amoebas and was able to like
make ships out of them?
actually breed their young and then use magnets to sort of like steer their internal navigation things and use them as like a defense mechanism. So when my battleships are in combat, there's little space amoebas orbiting them, taking out missiles. I like this game a lot.
This game's crazy.
It is. Also, my spaceships are sentient.
What?
Okay. There's a tech. Yeah, I
don't know if I've ever seen you so happy with a game.
Probably not. Correct, Calvin. My armor is crap because I have shield capacitors and shield generators. So what I usually do with my ship designs is just enough shield generation to like give me decent HP, and then what I do is I crank shield capacitors, which only crank up shield regen. And so unless you focus fire my ships or have a lot of shield penetration, they have infinite health. Because I basically stack shield regens that their health is constantly coming back at a similar rate to what it's being decreased at.
Wow.
This might not have been the best way to play it, but this is my first game, so I was just like, this seems cool.
That does seem like a fun strategy.
When it works. If you're fighting somebody with shield penetration or shield ignoring, it's just like, well, this is bad. But I have every single ship in my fleet has point defense because of it, because it'll shoot through the exact things they can get through a shield. So yeah, you can research sentient AI, which is actually marked as a dangerous technology, which we'll get to why. And then after you've done that, and here's all these different combat computers for your ships, and they'll actually change how they fight. So I will charge forward, I will hang back but have more health. I will charge forward and fire faster. I will hang back and have more health and dodge better. I'm alive and want to stay alive. So you read the description for the sentient combat computer. Yeah, I guess we've just talked about like combat and stuff. Yeah, it basically says the ship is balanced and its desire to not be dead will keep the ship alive.
Cloudcraft suggested he wants to see diplomacy before this is over.
I was just going to show you that I have a fortress called Asgard hovering above Earth, keeping it safe, because I thought that was cool. Alright, so here's the moment I was waiting for. This is Sol. All the blue stuff is me.
There's lots of blue stuff. It's got a giant symbol on it, which is great.
This is the United Nations of Earth, and this little thing over here is also just a kind of outpost. All those little green circles are sensors that I have access to because those are my Federation members.
Oh, okay.
So my Galactic Federation is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factions, all in the same cluster of space, some of which have their own vassals and random little outlier countries that kind of don't matter and are sort of interesting and quirky. To the south, I have the Great Valdari Sovereignty. Space South, and the Wasari Combined Worlds. These guys are sort of just evil, maniacal dicks. I thought these guys were nice until they decided I was their rival, but then I insulted their rival and they sort of cooled off.
Okay.
And so these are just armored space hamsters, I guess.
Yeah.
Xenophile materialists. They treat me as their rival. They're not super opposed to me though. There's this whole menu of like their relationships to everybody else. They are rivaled with A and B and C. They have an embassy with A and B and C. They have Z as a vassal. They trade with just me right now, and they are in a federation or an alliance with these guys and these guys. So everybody you can talk to has this whole like
network
menu of a network of what's up with them. I gave these guys an embassy because eventually it earned me enough credit that they're not actively hostile to me. And I was going to instead try and get them to have a common enemy with the Valdari, who've been just sort of assholes to my border for many, many years.
They even look like...
They look pretty gross.
Yeah.
They're actively hostile, but their army's crap right now because the Wasari took half their worlds.
Oh.
Like, so you can see they have this one random little floaty planet right over here. Their border used to be here.
And then the green just started sucking them up?
Destroyed a bunch of their stuff and then declared me a rival. And I was like, what the crap, man? I was so ready because like... And there was this whole...
I liked you.
I did. There was a whole chapter before that where the Gorf were sort of uncomfortable.
You say the Gorf?
Yeah, the United Gorf Empire. They look like this.
I don't know why I find that funny.
They make total sense as the Gorf.
I don't know why I find that funny.
They are also xenophile materialists, but they love us. Largely because they actually were surrounded...
He's got a human face growing out of his cheek.
Pretty much. They had, so this guy and this guy and this guy.
He looks like a wall in hell in Doom.
These were all in my Federation, and this guy wasn't. So the Federation literally encircled him, and eventually he gave up and joined the Federation.
Wow.
Let's see, we used to have a whole country over here that kept fighting us until eventually we freed the 2 people it enslaved, and then I guess took their whole planet. I was calling this guy Space North Korea, because they basically existed to give me and the Valdari somebody in between so we wouldn't have as much border friction.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons that people don't like you is actually a stat called border friction.
Oh.
Like if I mouse over here, you can see border friction minus 99, embassy plus 62.
And so can you set policies and things that reduce your border friction? Like
you can't directly affect the border friction stat unless you're in a federation with them, but you can do a smorgasbord of other diplomatic things to try and get them to
overcome it or whatever?
Yeah. Let's see, well, diplomacy is better than minigame, but a strong foundation does have... Yeah, so diplomacy is not perfect, but there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. There's this whole trade menu where if this guy didn't hate me, he would trade research agreements with me. If he didn't hate me, his people could migrate to my systems and vice versa, which spread their own ethics to your system. So when you're trading...
What happens if the ethics of your government conflict with the ethics of your people?
Those people are less happy, have a chance to form a faction, and might demand independence.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a thing. So I only have the one faction with the one guy in it. Remember I told you about that one time I tried to terraform a planet with people on it?
Yes.
Once you create a faction, I don't think it ever goes away. And so there's still a faction for it. And they have basically no support. They have one dude. He's just a crazy like free the people, like in the corner somewhere.
Let my people go.
Pretty much, but his people is just this one guy at this point. Sectors are really
He's like,
cool.
the rent is too damn high.
Pretty much. It's the rent is too damn high faction.
Yeah.
So sectors are awesome because they allow this game to scale up in a way that is very unusual. I only can control 5 planets directly. There's literally a hard cap on it, and you can research tech to increase the directly controlled planets. Those go into what's called your core sector. And then if you want to have more colonies than that, you have to make those into automatically governed sectors and then assign a governor to them, and you sort of let the AI drive the boat.
Wow.
So you sort of factionalize your own place in order to govern it effectively. But those factions are then like locations for people to like ask for independence.
It's like a delegation simulator.
Yeah, so you can see over here it says First Light. This is the First Light sector and the Hope sector. because this was my first place I ever went, and there's a planet called Hope that ruled this place for a while, and so it's got that name.
That works.
We can also jump into like, let's see. You can see over here, all of my fleets are getting upgraded right now. This is what I would call a large fleet for me for now. Just gonna give you the full-blown scroll. You can assign leaders to it. They can do stuff. I don't know how 702% works. I guess they're just done.
Complete.
Oh, fascinating. One of my allies has decided to integrate one of their vassals directly into their society. They are an indirect democracy, integrating a mega corporation. So one of the forms of civilization you can have is a mega corporation.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's see. So I'm maxed out on energy. I have 5,000, and I'm getting plus 270 a turn because all my ships are docked. The second I undock my ships, it's costing me a whole bunch more. Yeah, and Cloudcraft, actually the last patch did a lot to make sectors less crappy. The AI wasn't actually doing a good job in a lot of cases and wouldn't really upgrade stuff. And I've definitely had cases where I had to remove a planet from a sector to build it better, to give it back to a sector, which is sort of disappointing.
So we're running low on time.
I haven't even talked about taxing your people yet. That's cool. It's not exciting.
So what is the last thing you want to make sure you get to show us?
Let's see, we looked at the ship designer, we looked at research, we've done exploration, we've looked a little bit at diplomacy.
How pretty the map is just... so did you have to send exploring ships around this entire area to find out all this information, or did it eventually just start being told to you?
A lot of it I had to research myself. You can trade maps with people, just like Civ.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so eventually nobody values it anymore because everybody's got most of the map. But there's a certain mid or early to mid phase where the maps become very important because everybody wants to see what everybody else has. Oh, Fallen Empires. That's the one thing I can show people.
Okay.
So these guys, and these guys are Fallen Empire factions. I'm going to show you these guys because they have ring worlds. Okay, so these are factions that you meet, and when you meet them, they are at the butt end of the tech tree. They have literally learned everything. They know everything. They have max power fleets, and they've stopped giving a shit about the universe, and they've retreated into their own reclusive little small set of systems, and they hate everybody.
And so it's just like you just
the
can't
Ottoman
have the
Empire with nukes. Like they don't care. They're just hanging out anymore. So check this out. This is what I think you can only find ring worlds as having been pre-built by Fallen Empires.
Wow.
So a ring world actually is 4 worlds just connected to each other and labeled as districts, like the trade district and the agrarian district and the industrial district. Each one of those.
Could you conquer this if you wanted to?
I think you actually could.
But you'd have to like
you have to get
power yourself
to the end of the game. You have to. These guys will send multiple 40k fleets at me. I have one 17k fleet as my big one.
Wow.
If you look at the surface, it is a huge planet full of incredibly high-producing, very efficient things. So remember, when we looked at the similar screen on our home base when we started the game, these numbers were like 1s and 2s. And these numbers are like 13s and 14s, and they have like 4 ring worlds, each of which has 4 planets, each of which has 25 tiles, each of which are maxed out and perfectly optimized.
Wow.
And yes, to Calvin's point, some Fallen Empires hate everybody, and as soon as you get close to them, they'll just... Literally, this happened to Sam, they will demand that you give them everything you have. Like, we want your home planet and all the other planets and all your fleets and all your money and all your stuff. And you can be like, no. And they're like, cool, war. And then they will just
Sam just get annihilated?
He's actively being destroyed by a Fallen Empire he colonized too close to.
Wow.
It's actually not very fun.
Yeah,
do that right now. Like, there's not really a good thing you can do about it. So don't colonize close to them. If I talk to them, their power versus mine is overwhelming. They are a stagnant ascendancy. That's the kind of government you get for this.
Stagnant ascendancy.
Yeah, they are fanatic xenophobes. They just want everybody to leave them alone. They are militant isolationists. Their attitude towards me is unique. It is dismissive. That basically means we will ignore you. Nothing that you try to trade with us, we will respond to. We will not give you anything. We will not take anything. We don't care. And if you do anything to piss them off, they will send their enormous, powerful murder fleets at you.
I love that this game exists.
There's so much that can happen. It's somewhere between a strategy game and a sim.
Yeah.
And the sim elements give you like dynamically generated Star Trek episodes, which are just delightful moments. Let's see, so a fleet upgraded.
Predator says, "What is this, Brian?" Wait, is he saying, "What is this, Brian?" Or
where's the comma in that sentence?
Yeah. What is this, Brian?
What is this? What is this, Brian?
Yeah.
What is this, Brian? Like those could all be. I don't know what was the subject of that sentence.
Yeah, I know. This is Brian.
This is Brian. This is Brian. This is Stellaris.
and this is Brian.
True.
And we are. I think we're out of time.
Out of time.
We should probably call this quits. But
look, it's the eternal bastion on the ring world and the beacon of stability in the far reaches of space run by the progenitors.
This was a good place to end because you're basically showing us the end of the game.
Oh no. Okay, I'll tell you about the end of the game.
Okay.
I know of 3 possible endings. somebody researched sentient AI, and all the robots in the galaxy decided, fuck organic life, we're gonna take over, and they all become their own faction. All my sentient ships would turn against me, all my robot population would become another faction entirely, and immediately turn into armies I have to fight, and this would happen to everybody across the galaxy at once. And so you get the Butlerian jihad from Dune, is what that scenario is.
Wow.
The AI revolts, the whole world fights it, and the AI is outlawed forever. Think too, extra-dimensional invaders made of energy show up. They open giant portals, and they're called the Unbidden, and they just slowly take over more and more of the map as they basically eat everything with their superior firepower.
The Unbidden. We did not bid you.
We didn't want you here, and they're hard to kill. And if you leave them alive too long, competitive factions of them will show up to like compete over eating you. They treat your galaxy as food, and they literally call it like a harvest or something.
Okay, so what's number 3?
That, but the Zerg. Like a crazy organic hive mind shows up and just sort of swarms its way around. I don't know much about that one.
So is there kind of a rush to win the game before something like that happens?
I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet.
Wow. Drax says Sentient AI is a crazy ending.
Yeah, so I actually made Sentient AI, but, and this is important, maybe this is like a little minor detail, but we'll call this our endgame. I can decide my policies for how I govern my people. Mm-hmm. So our war economy, do we make more money when we're losing? How do we all feel about slavery? Is it cool to just randomly murder a population for the greater good? Not at all, yes, or only people that are different than us. How do we feel about orbital bombardment? Blow them all to hell? Be gentle or compromise? Is it only cool to passively study natives, actively study them, or lizard man conspiracy theorist our way to victory through them? How do we feel about enlightening natives? Yay or nay? Is migration prohibited? Only the primary species can do it? Or everybody can do it?
Go back to Enlightenment. So are you the Federation or not? You're not the Federation. You claim to be the Federation. You are not the Federation.
I'm awfully close to the Federation, except I will randomly enlighten people. Look, I enlightened these wonderful docile space goats.
What?
Or whatever you want to call that.
No, I call that a space goat. Yeah, no, that is definitely a space
And
goat.
they're xenophile fanatic pacifists. So these guys are great.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, they're just there to
They
give
sound
me.
cuddly, honestly.
They're really nice. They're loyal and pathetic. So I don't need anything from them.
You say loyal and pathetic?
It says pathetic.
Nice.
That's the word on the screen.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did that, and I also uplifted some bird people from over here. I integrated them directly into my society, but even though I directly integrated them, they still believe they were conquered, and so they were less productive for like 50 years. But yeah, these bird people, which are also extremely adaptive, so I can make colonies
Of them?
So here's a crazy awesome thing, and here's where I'll actually leave. I'm not even touch the keyboard anymore. The trick to this game that makes the optimistic part of it succeed is that you can build a federation that is composed of many different species, and mechanically, different species have different habitability for different planets. And so if you want to successfully expand all the way through the universe, dealing with the random habits or habitats of all these different planets, you need a diverse cast of characters so that you can successfully colonize them all.
Oh.
And so the more races you bring in, the more likely you are to have somebody where you can say, let's make a colony ship, fill it with those people, and send it there. And they'll be like, that's great for us. We love deserts.
I like it, kind of like the way that we were, learning a lot about like things like the ethics of prisons and stuff like that. Some of the other games we played, like that sort of teaches you. But like this is one of the reasons for diversity to be a valuable thing.
It provides it allows you to deal with whatever comes your way.
Yeah. I think this is talking about like physical capacities, but there also could be like other valuable values to have it.
In that regard, wars in Stellaris over time seem to all come down to war of ideas.
Yeah,
because you have natural benefits, or like you get free diplomacy points for people with similar values to you, and you lose points for people with diametrically opposed values. And so in the end, federations naturally form of people with the same values. And so you might get the like cult empire where they're all very spiritual and they all sort of jump in on some divine mandate thing. You might get the classically Star Trek Federation where they're all just like, way, individual will, democracy, woo! And then you might get the murdering space orcs aligning with the murdering space lizards that are all like, great, conquering and murder! And they will all sort of congeal into like blobs that have the same beliefs.
But I like that because like you got sort of like you end up with the physical geography and the moral geography not quite lining up. So you end up
correlated but not tied.
Yeah, that's cool.
And also to Cloudcraft's point, you can mess around with slaves and genetic engineering and robots.
To feel similar roles.
And you can actually genetically engineer new traits into people and then create new subspecies.
And create like docile subspecies.
Right, I'll touch this one more time, and you should randomly cut out after I say the important noun, which you'll understand when I say it. So let's go over to my science planet.
Is the noun goats? Because it's hard to beat goats.
No, it's not actually goats. We're going to go to the Wicklars, or the Wenzo planet. Some of these people are human, some of them, and I didn't make this up, the game did this by itself.
Like ultra human. Does that mean human but beyond, or does that mean more human than other humans?
Humans that live an extra 120 years.
Is it more human than human?
Better humans. They reproduce faster. They prefer tropical environments to like temperate environments, and they live 120 years longer. And so if I make one of them my leader, they just survive longer, and that's just objectively superior.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for showing us this game.
Some of this game.
If this kind of thing makes you cackle maniacally the way that it does with Brian, go check out Stellaris. At
So good.
Thank you.
It's on Steam now. It's Paradox. Love those guys.
It's like $40 or something.
I think either there or very close to there.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Pick it up. Play it. It's just so good, guys. There's so much here. I haven't even seen it all yet, and I'm already like.
I'm trying to.
Just
where the crap is my
I'm running
cursor?
out of praise that
There
I
it
can
is.
keep on saying before Jeffrey finds the button he's looking